Hello everyone, welcome to Think Academy's How to Ace the Elementary Middle School Transition webinar. My name is Michael.J and I will be your host today. So today we are gonna go all the way from the school research to all the way to the placement test. Okay, so let's do a little bit about the self-introduction. I'm Michael.J, a graduate from UCLA with a major in mathematics and economics. Currently, I am the G5 long-term class instructor for Think Academy. I'm also in charge of the AMC8 competition. I've been long research on the private school application system. So today, let me walk you through how you should treat your school and pick the right one for your kids, as well as how to get in. Here's the outline for today's webinar. Firstly, I'm going to assume that if no one's known anything about how to pick a grade school, how you should come up with the previous school list, as well as what the school will choose and what's the standard for you to get into the school, as well as how to prepare, that's sure. And also just a friendly reminder, Think Academy will provide each of the detailed webinar in the future, so be sure to subscribe to our channel for the following webinars. Firstly, I say that if you don't know nothing about the school, you don't know how to pick a great school, you don't know how to define a good school around your community. So how should you do first? The first thing, you can use the third-party ranking system, the online website, as a guide. You may want to choose what you care about, for example, the academic, the graduation outcomes, what are the senior school or the college the graduate student go to, as well as the teacher-student ratio or the diversity of ethnics if you prefer. The best thing for here is to understand what will best fit your kid. Do your kid care about the diversity, or you just want to focus on the academics or the sports clubs, or you want a small class size? That's all you should consider. Also, the location and the community will place a very good emphasis on the school life of your kids. So that's also what to look for. So here, for example, I'm going to use the Harker School. Yes, that is the famous one. We shall all know about it. So as you can see here, on the niche grade, it gives you an A+ grade. That's sure. However, we should also focus on some of the parts. Remember, the club's activities, it got an A-, as well as for diversity, it's also just a B+. And for sports, you know that Harker is not good at sports. So be sure to check all those subjects, the sub-area for which it is not that good for, just in case that maybe if your kids want to be an athlete, then you know the Harker School is not good for him or her. Also online, the users as well as the student may post some tags on this website. For example, AP, or is that an NIS minor? Remember, so that's the tag you can use as a reference also to filter out some of the school you do not wish to look at. So afterwards, let's look at the more detailed stuff for the Harker School. Sure, you will get a 100% graduation rate as a Harker student, and you will see that a multiple typical outcomes for the school attending the Harker School. For example, Stanford, UC Berkeley, UCLA. So if your kids target college or those on the list, sure, put Harker on your middle school list because that's a typical outcome for your kids in the future. Also, you can see here the student-teacher ratio is 10:1 compared with the national average of 70:1. That's pretty good. So if your kids really want a small size and you want a teacher to put more emphasis on each individual student, then Harker will definitely be your top choice. You can also compare it with the peer schools. For example, when you talk about the Harker, you might also talk about, say, Sacred Heart schools, Castilla, Newbar, Menlo. So how about check their schools? See what about their student-teacher ratio and what's there compared with the national average. But also, besides the academics, besides the teachers, the size of the class, you may also care about the school life, the culture, how your kids will feel like during a typical school day. Then there needs to use some other sources like this part. You can look at the diversity. Is diversity a concern to you? Like for example here, Harker will have almost 70% of Asian students. Do you feel good about that, or is that a concern? Definitely make a choice here. Also, the student here, because of the diversity, it has a B plus grade. But is that B plus grade really means that the student population or the community is not good for your student, for your kids? That's a thing you need to consider. Also, you see here, for the Harker, each year's annual cost will be $35,000. Is the financial affordability a concern to you? If not, then you can just throw this number out. All right. So for other websites, you will also check about how the school life will affect your student. For example, on the niche website, you might not see, okay, so when's the day for each day start time and how your school is gonna probably commute to school. Do you have to drive your kids to the school, or will the school provide buses or van like this? How about the dress code? Do you want your kid to wear a uniform every time? Or do you prefer like a boarding school or a day school like that? So that's the thing you also need to check about, the location. You do not want to spend much of the time sending your kids back or to from the school. So definitely search by the zip code and check if the community and the location of the school is best for a student. Oh, by the way, so for some of the famous private school, it's like a chain store, so you can choose from different campus. So definitely pick the campus that works best for you. All right, now you see, okay, I've had enough of the data, of the statistics, of the so-called grading, but I still am not a little bit worried about is that data very conservative or objective, or is it very subjective? How about look at this? Also search for the comments provided by the past student, parents, as well as the community workers. For example, here, you will see that this website lists all the mottos, the characteristics for the school, and invite the parents and the student to give their thought about it. So for example here, for the Harker, I'm again using this as an example. You will see that this parent think this school does not have effective approach to the homework. Why is that? Sure, check his example here. But this parent does agree that the school will help develop the character inside the student and also provide his or her specific example. So that's a case you can check how the student once attended the school think about the school and will also help you make the choice that's best for your kids. So believe me, do not just look at the data, the number, or the rating. Also check for the comments and the thought online or from your neighbors. And then we know that how can pick the school. What does it mean to be a great school, and how can we pick the great school for your kid? How about we check about the test we need to go to school? The first thing is the standardized test, ISEE or SSAT. So most private school will require one of them, and because, like say, I will find out that both tests will pretty much be similar. So you can start your test preparation now and also prepare for both of the tests. So for the ISEE, you want to take the lower level. SSAT, you will take the middle level. And because of the current situation, you have to book the test 2 months ahead so as to give your kids enough time to prepare for the test, as well as, just in case an emergency happens, you have to reschedule the test. So all the tests will be divided into 3 sections, as I wrote here before. Writing, reading and verbal, and also the quantitative. The quantitative is just the mathematics part. And then let's do a more detailed analysis. So for lower level ISEE, for the quantitative reasoning and also the mathematics achievement. So here, they have 38 problems in 35 minutes, but for the mathematics achievement, you're going to do 30 problems in 30 minutes. Even if they have a different name, I would say that they're pretty much the same stuff. So you just can treat them as one math sections. The topic it will cover includes the number operation, geometry, algebra, measuring, counting, and probability, as well as the word problem. So definitely check that out when you choose your own material or outside classes for the test prep. Does it cover those topics? Besides the mathematics, you also have the reading comprehension as well as the essay writing. So the reading comprehension will much be the same from ISEE as well as for the SSAT, but the essay writing, that's a different thing. Essay writing for ISEE will be at the end. The material, the essay your student wrote, will be sent to the admission officer, although this will not be counted as the full score. So here I'm going to provide you some of the sample test questions. One is from the quantitative reasoning, one is from the mathematical achievement. So you can see that they're pretty much the same. All right, 4 options, pick one of it. Definitely let your student try if they can figure out this easily. Okay. So how about SSAT? So for the SSAT, the most significant difference here is that the essay writing session, the writing part will be at the beginning. So your student have to write the essay first and then tackle the reading as well as the math problem. Okay, so for the qualitative reasoning, it will have 2 sessions, each will have 25 problems in 30 minutes. So for this SAT test, it seems that you will have a little bit of more time for each problem. And for the subject, you can see here number operation, geometry, algebra, measuring, counting probability, as well as the word problem. If you still remember what's going on for the ISEE, you will find out that, all right, the topics covered are pretty much the same. So indeed, you can prepare for the 2 tests at the same time. And here I provide some of the following sample questions. So how about you or your kids take a look at that and see if you can find any differences between the test question for SSAT and for the ISEE. Okay, so for this part, let me emphasize this part. So for the problem itself, the options, see here, you have one more option. So for ISEE, you have 4 choices, A, B, C, D, but for SSAT, you will have one more choice. So that's kind of harder, right? Also, why does SSAT give you more time, like say 5 more minutes than the ISEE for each section? That's because the problem itself will involve a little bit of reading. See here, the text for each question will be a little bit more than the question from the ISEE. So the math problem is not only just math, you have to really understand what's going on by reading the question. Okay, now you say, hi, okay, my kids take the test, now what? When you prepare for the test or taking the test, you should keep in mind that you can also check for the percentile for you to get admitted to the schools. For example, for Harker, if you want to be safe, I say that's a typical statistic provided by past student, you have to get at about 84%. That is, you have to defeat other 85% of the kids so as to be safe to be considered a candidate. But for NUVAR, let's see, it's a bit of, well, even harder, right? You have to get 89%. So, like I mentioned before, the first thing is to make your school list. Now you can see the difference. If you want to go for Harker, then definitely you can put less time on the test preparation than if you want to go to NUVA, because NUVA will have a more strict test standard, right? So the test date, I would recommend that you book the test date in September or October so as to take the test in November or December, because most of the deadline for the application will end at the end of December or the start of January. So if you take the test in November and find, oh no, my kid didn't do well, then you sure have another chance in December. But anyway, the point is you must start the test prep now. And besides the test, in the application system, sometimes it will ask you for how, okay, so if your kids achieve any kinds of awards or honors, please leave them there. So this is something you can stand out from other kids, right? Everyone will provide a standard test. Everyone will write, like say, the statement. Everyone will have the transcript and recommendation. But how can your kids stand out? That is the awards that something others might not have. So if you have this awards, then you can show, like say, your kids' commitment, also the strengths. For example, the AMCA test that I will recommend. AMC test is about a math competition. So this will definitely make you stand out if you applied for the school that emphasize on the STEM subject. For example, the Harker. Sure, this will make your student stand out if he can provide an AMC 8 honor roll or even distinguished honor roll. So what is AMC 8? Let's see. So for AMC 8, it is conducted by Mathematics Association of America for each year. So you have to be below grade 8 to attend this test, and the test is held each November. So you still have the time, like say, to take the test for 2020. This test will also be the entry route for the IMO, which is the International Mathematics Olympics. And you can check about this percentile distribution here. So most of the kids will only get about 5 to 10 scores. So if your kids can get like say like above 10, above 15, that's a very promising score to make your kids stand out. So because the test will start at November for each year and there's only once per year, so it's better to prepare now if you are the parents of an upcoming grade 5 student. That is, your kids will only have one chance to take this test so as to put that result on your kid's application. Now it's about August, so you still have approximately 3 months to take the test in November. Alright, so besides the standard test and the honors, you will see that for the typical application, you have to write a statement. That is, you, the parents. Well, most of the cases, that's the parents. Sometimes the kids might also have to write something. But the main idea is that as a parent, you have to really know about your kids, his or her strengths, weaknesses, besides those quantitative scores or awards and transcript. If you haven't noticed this yet, I recommend that start today. Make a diary or notes of the precious memory of your family life, especially those that can align with the school's value. For example, if say Harker, it will emphasize on the STEM, on like say academic, then how about you will say that my kids will really be good at learning the math or learning the science, how he and us as a family do the scientific laboratories or research during the usual time. That will be a great case for you to write inside the application statement for your kids. And you can see here, there's a component here, also the recommendation and the transcript, but I think, well, that's just easy to get as well as the elementary school will do you the favor. Sure, you will get the recommendation and the transcript without difficulty. Oh, don't forget, some school will also require the interview. And again, this is mostly for the parents, not for the student, although some of them might ask for the student interview as well. But as a parent, what you need to do is that, all right, do the school research and see if your kids will fit the school, if the school will be suitable for your kids, and then summarize that in your record. The record, the small book, will both help you in writing this application statement as well as preparing for the interviews. Well, the admission officer sometimes will ask you, okay, so tell me about your kids. Just like say, tell me about, like, give me a self-introduction, but it's not really just want you to talk about the story of your kid, but it's the chance to say, how does your kid fit our school and why do you think our school will be good for your kids? That's the point. As a parent, you have to answer according to the value and the culture of that school. Also, I recommend that you can search for the sample interviews online. Say if you want to get to Harker, get to NUVA. So how about asking for the past parents? So what are the sample questions so that you can prepare in advance? Okay, as you can see here, that's also about an example I provided. You will meet about 30 or 45 minutes. So that's quite a long time if you consider that the conversation can take place. So definitely prepare enough material to talk about for your kids when you're facing the admission officer. But that's the point here. If you want to do great on the interview, you have to know the school well and know the common points between the school and your kids' virtual. How can you do that? Sure, I know that you must understand, you know about your kids, but do you know about the school? Then you need this open house event, i.e. the campus tour. So for the campus tour, if some of you have already done some research, you will know that each school will have different schedule for the open house event. Some of them will have, like say, certain date or time. Some of them need appointment. But anyway, that is the best time for you to feel the school's culture about the environment and ask questions. Also, detect the problems. For example, you might care about, like say, the diversity, or like say, is the school chill or very pushy for your kids? Then it is probably not that possible or easy to find online. You have to go and visit the campus, the classroom. Maybe also ask some question of the current student there to say, hey, what do you think about school life? Are the teachers nice to you? Well, you have to visit that in person to understand that. But given like the current situation, some school will also offer this virtual tour like this, the picture I'm showing here. So basically, it will allow you to do like something like the Google Map. You can view as a visitor in the air, look at those schools distribution, how the classroom look like. However, there's a great weaknesses, that is you cannot speak personally with the student or with the faculties there. There will be someone specially assigned to treat you. That's the thing for like the current situation. But anyway, you have to really emphasize and put the note on this event, because let's say you can also take your kids to the school like this for the Harker. You can take your kids to the Harker and say, ask your kids, hey, do you like this environment? Do you feel like this teacher? Do you think this class will be great for you? Or just how you feel about this school? So picking a school is just not about only you or your kids. It's about the parents, the kids, and the school. The three sides of you have to reach a harmony so that you can make sure that your kids will be good and ace in the class. All right, let's say congratulations in advance if you got the offer, you get admitted, but don't think that's the end of the story. After you get inside the school, most schools, they will have a placement test within the class. So they will have something like an honor or regular curriculum on the same topic. So sometimes this will difference in the progress or the depth. So for example, some school will say combine the 2 years class into one, or some schools say I'm gonna not combine the class, but I'm gonna dive deeper, make it harder for each of the topics. And also for the placement test, it's not just an entry test when your kids get admitted. Some school will treat, like say, the whole semester's general result as the standard for your kids' next year's placement. Okay, so just treat the entry level, but also the overall performance of your kids throughout the semester. So here I'm gonna give you some of the example. For the Sacred Heart, you will see Math 7/8. That is an accelerated class. That is, Sacred Heart put the math in the 7th and the 8th grade into 1 year class. So that is boost the speed, but not necessarily the difficulty. But for the Harker School, you will see here, Algebra 1 and Algebra Honors. So you know that the content will be the same, there will not be too rushed. However, the difficulty will be different. If you are in the honors class, you will have a more difficult, more in-depth algebra, but not like the Sacred Heart, you are going to learn like 2 classes in 1 year. That's not the case. So definitely, when you do the school research or ask for the faculty about this class schedule, understand, do they want your kids to learn the things really fast or really deep? So let's do a little bit of summary here. Start from the beginning. If you know nothing about school, you can refer to the online third-party ranking system. Also take care of the customized need of your kid, but also need to check for the comments or the personal idea from your neighbors from the online community. Just know how they think about the school as a past parent or kid. So after you got those school lists, You have to know, okay, if I have to take the standard test, which of it? And for you make your kids stand out, you wanna take some of the honor test, say AMC 8 or other STEM test, so that you can have something more than other kids to show to the admission officer that my kids are committed to that and my kids will excel in your class. You get the transcript and recommendation, that's the typical paperwork for the elementary school. But the most important thing is about know the target school. Does its value and the culture fit your kid? You solve that question using this open house event. Make sure to check the dates for each school. Sometimes they will need appointment, sometimes it will have a fixed date. But anyway, start early. Start early for the test preparation so you know how the percentile that your kids must get to be safe, get admitted. Also, prepare early for the open house event because the wait list gonna fill pretty quickly once it is released. So be sure to make this appointment, sign up for that as soon as possible. The last thing is about the placement test. Getting into the school is not enough. You have to know if the kids have to face an accelerated class or a deeper class so as to prepare correspondingly. And just one more thing, for all of those subjects and topics, Think Academy will provide more detailed webinars in the future. If you have any question about this transition process, how you can choose the school, how do you think about the school, how you can prepare for each of the topic, feel free to scan the code to add me personally, or you can join our WeChat group here. And also, be sure to follow our account, subscribe to the channel, and if you feel this webinar can help you, give a thumb up. If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to write down on the comment area below. I'm Michael.J, and I will see you next time.